Okay guys, I'm going to go through my HDR process, which definitely could use some work, but hopefully in showing you this, maybe some of you guys can learn something and some of you guys can teach me something. So I get things started in Adobe Bridge, and the first thing I do is I took a few pictures today that I'm going to process. So I have a shortcut in Adobe Bridge that goes to my camera SD card, and all of these are the ones that I want to import. I don't want to mess with the raw files because I'm going to first do this in Photomatix. So I'm going to turn them all into JPEGs by dragging them into this preset called HDR process, and that is going to automatically send them to my pre-processing folder, exported as JPEGs. Here they are as JPEGs. Okay, and the reason that I have them sent here is because I can work on them, and also I have a folder set up in Lightroom to automatically import them. So these first 5 are the ones that are my brackets, and the last 4 are different ones of the road, so that I could get the best looking road that I'm going to mask in later on. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this over to Photomatix, merge for HDR processing. Okay, I have to align mine because I don't have auto bracketing, and I take all my exposures manually on a tripod, but there's some movement. I'm going to go ahead and remove ghosts just to see what that does. I'm going to pause this out for you guys so that you don't have to wait on it. Okay, here we are back. Now, we can see there's some ghosting here, and this is something I'm going to fix in Photoshop, but just, you know, might be able to clean it up a little bit just because I know I don't want it. So, by the way, there's a storm going on behind me, so sorry if it's noisy. There was a storm when I took this picture. So okay, here we are in Photomatix, and let's see how it came out. I like to check the presets. Some people like to just go straight into it, but sometimes the presets give me an idea, so I like to go into them. This one actually looks pretty good. But just messing around with this a little bit. You can notice that the ghosting fixed it a little bit. Fix the ghosting, but that's something I'm going to remove in Photoshop. It was a little darker like that actually when I was there, so that's going to make it look a little more realistic. Sometimes I wonder if my aligning is done very well because I have to do all my photos manually, which is kind of annoying. I'm looking for a new camera. I'm on a Sony Alpha 33. That's a little too dark. But that's not bad. I kind of like that look. I think we can also mess with that. Okay, there should be more. I'd like to see some more detail in the sky. So let's see what micro smoothing does to the sky. There, that's more detail. I like that. It's a little noisy in the sky, as you can see there. Pretty noisy, but pretty sure we're going to be able to fix that later on. Yeah, that sky's pretty noisy, but we're going to be able to fix that. So, okay, I think that that's pretty good. I think that that's where we're going to just keep it, and I'm going to go ahead and process this. Let's have another look over at what I've done here. Let's just see what happens when we mess with micro smoothing again. Look at that, it takes all the detail out of the sky. So I think that's where we're going to keep it. What if we bump that color saturation just a tiny bit? Okay, right there. That's where we're going to process it. Here we go. Rain is starting to come in from behind me. I need to close that window. So what's funny is it did the same thing last time. I'm redoing this video because it did the same thing. For some reason, Photomatix did not process a really good looking photo. It obviously looked better just a moment ago, but you know, bygones. Let's go ahead and process this anyways. So I'm going to save it as a tone mapped image, and we're just going to work with it. Even though I don't like it, it looked way better before we rendered it, but oh well. So when we saved it, you can see it's already in here. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is load all of these into Photoshop for the second part of my processing. So I go to Tools, I've got them all highlighted, Photoshop, load files into Photoshop layers. Okay, so here we are in Photoshop. And so we've got the tone mapped image at the top. Now let's just scroll through and see if any of these look better. Right away, I think the building is looking a little bit better in that one. Maybe even better in that one. Oh, let's just get right into it. So I'm going to create a mask by dragging this little mask over here. And I'm going to turn my opacity down pretty far, 10%. And let's see. So let's see what happens if I just kind of color in this building. See if I can make it pop a little bit. And my opacity is down too low, so that's obviously pretty high, but so that's kind of looking all right. I'm trying to avoid creating any glow on the outside of that building from doing this. So I think this building a little wider brings in a little more contrast to the photo and brings in a little more detail. Let's see if I created any glow. If I did, I can just unmask that back in. By painting white over that mask. All right. So I think that looks a little bit better. What about the building there? I think that also looks a little bit better with this. So let's continue to paint onto this building. Paint some of that detail and get rid of some of that. It just kind of washed it out a little bit. Notice right there I made it glow a little bit, so we'll paint that back out. All right, I like the way that's doing. In fact, I'm just going to increase the opacity there. And even on the fountain. I like it on the fountain. Okay, I think that helps out a little bit. What about the sky in that picture? The sky looks better in mine. So I like what that's doing, so I'm going to go ahead and Control-Alt-Shift-E and have a new layer, and I can kind of forget about those layers for now, as I'm going to mask some more stuff in. Now I'm looking for ones of the sky that I think look pretty good. But really the sky came out pretty good in the HDR. So far I'm not seeing anything there. Okay, now what I'm looking for is which one looks best in the traffic. Do I want the blur traffic going on? That's kind of cool. So if I'm going to get the blur working, I would have to create an adjustment layer for this and really kind of darken it, because I got to make it look more like this if it's going to blend well. So I'm also going to increase the contrast. I'm going to darken it a little more. Let's just see how that does. So I'm going to create another layer mask for this top layer by dragging this over here. And this time, so I think that's going to blend okay, but let's take a look and see what happens. Because I'm going to be blending in objects that I don't want looking transparent, I'm using this more dark brush, or higher opacity, excuse me. So on my first pass, I'm not really paying that much attention because I know I can go back and correct it a little bit. So now I've got the blurry traffic. I've got this bus here. I'm going to go ahead and just turn this all the way up. So I've got the bus, he's coming in, got Mr. Traffic Guy here, and the rest of the stuff. So that's kind of interesting. And you notice I did poorly here. So I'm going to color that back in. So it blended pretty well. And if I wanted to adjust it, we could go to this adjustment layer and watch this. See, we can just see what it would look like if it was brighter or darker. So maybe even just a little bit darker. Okay, there we go. So, you know, I think that's looking okay. None of this is really amazing yet. We've got a last step that's going to kind of make the rest of it pop. Obviously, in the sky, we've got some noise going on, but that's something that I'll take care of in Lightroom. I like to do it in Lightroom, probably because I'm a noob. But let me do one more thing here. So I'm Control-Alt-Shift-E. I got my layer. So on this one, I'm going to change it to multiply. And I'm going to create some vignetting on it. So you can see it's way darker in the second one. So I'm going to create some vignetting. So I'm going to create another layer. And this time, I'm going to turn the opacity way down to about 10%. And I'm going to make this fuzziest possible. And I'm just going to do some vignetting on the edges. I like to do the vignetting. Some people don't like it, whatever. I just think it helps focus and bring some more contrast into the picture. It's really not getting too much darker there because that multiply work wasn't doing that much, but it's getting a little bit darker. Anyways, I like to make it real subtle. I'm just going to create one more and put it below, see if that makes it darker. Well, my vignetting isn't looking very good. It's just not doing much. The dark, oh, there we go. Now you can see the darkness coming in. So that's probably all I'm going to do for now. I think I'm actually painting black instead of actually vignetting through, but it's okay. It's still looking okay. So that's what I'm going to keep this for now. So I'm going to file, save this. Again, I'm going to save it as a JPEG just because I think they're a little bit quicker to work with, and I value that. So I'm just going to call this Photoshop Tone Map Final. Save it. Okay, now here's where we do all the polishing. So I'm going to go ahead and close this because it's eating a lot of RAM. And you can see back in Bridge, this is all in there. All my stuff is in here. But when I open up Lightroom, which is my next step, I'm going to close this too, just for RAM case. Saving some RAM. So when I open Lightroom, this is kind of cool. It automatically, you can choose one auto import folder for Lightroom, and it will basically check that folder out and then import stuff automatically. So you're going to kind of see it doing that right off the bat. See this pre-processing auto import, how it's getting 5, 6, 7 photos. So all these photos are automatically being imported. So I don't have to do that again, which is nice. And if you want to do that, you can go to auto import, enable it, and change the folder settings you want. So all these are now being auto imported. So let's find my final one, which is going to be this one, the tone map final. Now that sky is super noisy, so what we're going to do is bring it into the development mode. Okay, here we're going to bring it in development mode, and the first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to bring some contrast into this. So I go to the whites, click, hold down on Alt, and we can see it's already blown out there. So I'm going to leave that alone. Maybe I even reduce that and see what it does. I'm going to leave that alone pretty much. Now the black, let's see if we have blacks in. Don't really have any hard blacks. So I'm just going to see and let those come into the corner. So what that's done is increase the contrast just a little bit. Now I'm going to go up to this brush, reset it, and I'm going to turn up, let's see, what I'll do here is, where's the noise? There's the noise. So I'm going to turn up the noise control and see what that does here. So I'm going to paint it all over the sky. See if I can get rid of some of that noise. So that's doing a pretty decent job. Now let's see what happens if I jack up the clarity on that. And I'm also going to see what happens if I just turn down the exposure on that a little bit. Makes it a little bit darker. Okay, I'm going to keep it like that. I'm going to create a new brush, and this time I'm going to add some sharpness. And I like to add sharpness only locally, because when you sharpen the whole thing, it just kind of makes it a little blasé. So I'm going to sharpen this. It's probably a little bit closer to me, and if it's sharper, it'll help people to realize that that's a closer object. I'm also going to sharpen up around this fountain and this building. All right. And I'm going to make another new brush. And I'm going to see if I can brighten that building just a little bit. The white building. I don't know if this is going to work, so I'm just going to give it a try. Okay, let's see what happens if I crank it up. Or if I bring it down. Okay, I kind of like that. So getting about done on this photo. You see how this building is kind of bent, curved? I kind of like that it's leaning over. I think it makes the photo interesting. So I'm probably gonna completely fix it. But let's see what happens if I fix the lens correction. And it's a Sony lens, so see how it straightened it out? It's still bending inwards, which is fine. I don't really mind that. I think it's kind of cool looking. But let's see what it would look like if we were to fix that as well. So that would look more like this. and then I'd have to crop that out. I don't know, I just kind of like the leaning look. Yeah, I know it's not right, but I just kind of like it. I don't know, personal preference. Let's just yeah, and plus I don't want to crop all that out. I just kind of like it. So I mean, it would basically have to look like this. If I was going to do this, I would have to crop it out down here. My machine's going a little bit slow because I'm running Camtasia Studio at the same time. So it would have to be like this. It would have to look like this. So I'd have to lose a little bit of it. I don't know. I mean, that still looks pretty good. So that is opposed to this. I don't know, which one do you like better? This one or this one? I don't know, maybe it does look better. Let's go ahead and leave it for the moment. See if there's anything else we can fix on. We could add a little more vignetting, but I don't want to darken up the sky too much. We'll just do that, leave it like that. It literally rained on me out there, so I think the streaking gives it the look that it was raining. I'm going to add a little bit more noise reduction for the entire thing to see if I can finish up fixing the graininess of the sky. Let's see what it looks like. That's looking pretty good. For me, at least. You know, obviously there's lots of plugins we could work with. I'm really lagging because of this Camtasia Studio running. So it's noisy, but it's not horrible. And since I'm probably not going to blow this up or anything, I'll probably just leave it like that. You can see the noise has gotten a lot better. So I'm just going to leave it like that. And I'm just going to call this one good. And let me show you what my next step is. I'm going to post this to my Flickr account and to my Facebook account. I'll just show you how I do that as well. So I'll go back into the library tab. So all I would do if I want to post this is I would drag it into HDR shots for Facebook, and I would drag it into HDR shots here, and then I would just right click on it and say publish now. It's going to be uploaded to Facebook and also to my Flickr. But before I do that, I would put in my metadata. I would add a title here, you know, saying this is Mexico City intersection HDR, just for giggles. And here I'm going to post the link to me doing this. So anyways, if you guys have some suggestions, I'd love to hear them, because obviously I'm still learning how to do this. And I hope you enjoyed this. Take care. Bye-bye.